Hi, guys. Thank you for joining our podcast today. I'm joined by my sister Noel and my friend Lauren, who have both read and listened to the highly acclaimed book Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So today we're going to be reviewing the book and kind of giving you our thoughts on it. So for you guys, what is your overall impression of the book, and did you enjoy it?
I'll go first, Noel. I absolutely love the book so much that I actually listened to the Audible immediately the next day after I started the Audible of it. And I did hear a few people make comments on other videos that they didn't like the narrator for the Audible. I loved the narrator. I think she sounded fine. She made certain characters' voices different, so I really liked that. I love the overall book and the Audible. I feel like I picked up a lot more when I listened to the Audible since it was the second time me hearing the story. And I loved it just as much as the first time when I read the book. So my overall thoughts were I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I loved it. I cannot wait for the second book to come out in November.
Yeah, same. November 8th, it'll be delivered. I already pre-ordered it.
Pre-ordered, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, hello. I'm Lauren. I definitely agree. Same sentiments. I would give it a 5 out of 5. It keeps action flowing throughout the entire book, like really engages you from like even the first chapter. For somebody who's normally naturally a little ADD with books, like I was engaged from the beginning to the end. So I will just say like it really keeps you going, and there's quite a few twists and turns.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel the same way. I rated it 5 out of 5. I thought it was amazing. Unlike any other story I've read, but it kind of had elements of other series out there, which that I enjoy reading, watching, listening to, things like that. Other series that have actually been adapted into movies. So it kind of had a little sprinkle of lots of stuff that I love, and just the whole theming was great, and also the first time I've ever read a Rebecca Yarros book, so she definitely
Right. And she's been published for I think over a decade now, and this is the first book she's admitted that's really ever taken this much popularity. And it's also her first time writing a fantasy novel, so maybe this is the direction that she needs to keep going, because this was really good. I don't know about you guys, but when I was reading it, I could picture it being a TV show like on HBO. That would be like my ultimate dream, because they don't really like make the storyline like kind of down and more like safe. Like they would make some of these scenes like really good. If you know what scene I'm talking about without saying anything, the action, and then otherwise, I think like HBO, please HBO if you're watching.
Yeah.
But I could see it being a TV show or a movie, honestly.
Oh yeah, definitely HBO, because I mean obviously it's a war college, so
yeah,
take that with what it may, but there's definitely some scenes that are just not suitable for children's and teens, and
yes,
can be more triggering for people. So definitely HBO stars, like those type of networks would definitely be the ones that would produce this. Yeah, I agree. And I think because Rebecca, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but her previous like books that she's written are primarily romance and not like fantasy. And I'm not a romance novel person, but I do like fantasy romance.
The romantasy is what they're calling it now. And that's my favorite genre to read, because I'm the same. I don't like to just read a romance novel just for romance. I have, of course, in the past read them, but my heart always leads me towards fantasy. And when you add some romance in with the fantasy, then I love it.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have
we have a friend.
We have a friend. If you see her head poke through, Luna, the cat.
Okay. Yep, I see my niece.
All right, so moving on. So how would you describe the writing style? Was it engaging, descriptive, or thought-provoking? Like when you read it?
I had no issues with the writing style. I have found some TikTok videos and reviews out there where people did not finish the book because to them, they didn't feel that the literature was strong enough for them or more as mature as they are. I don't know. I didn't get that feeling personally. There may have been a few sentences where it was okay. It's kind of a little kiddie-ish, like here and there, little tiny sentences. But overall, the whole entire story, I loved it. And then listening to the Audible, I actually thought it sounded really well on the Audible, the writing style versus reading it myself.
Yeah.
And this is one of my first times actually reading an Audible book. I am not an Audible girl, but I've been going on 45 to 60-minute walks the last couple of weeks. So now Audible has been like my newest like friend to get me through some cardio.
Your addiction.
And it is. And listening to this book, I'm telling you, like I would go on like an extra 5 minutes of my walk sometimes just to finish a chapter, like finish it off on a good chapter. So I thought the writing style was great for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I would agree. So I don't know about you. I know you've read, like, you're not really big into fantasy novels, I believe.
Well, that's not necessarily true. When I read Harry Potter series, like I couldn't stop. I literally read one of their books in a day.
But what about fantasy?
Yeah, me too.
Romance, though, is not normally my thing. I will say, like, I was definitely I can't give away anything, but there's some times where I was glad my AirPods were on. Because I didn't get the book, unfortunately, because it was on back order, but I got Audible. And I'm newish to Audible. Thank you, Nishell. Like introduced me, was like, listen to it on Audible, you'll love this. And I couldn't put it down.
Right.
So
and it was like what, 20 hours? The Audible was like 20 hours or something, right? But it didn't feel like 20 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm like trying to get walks in, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep walking with my dog so I can finish it. But yeah, the writing for me, it was good. I know a lot of people loved what is that fantasy huge series that turned into
Shadow and Bone.
Dakota Johnson.
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, I didn't read that.
I've never read it.
I did, and I liked them.
I know a lot of people loved it, but I read some things and like grammatically, it's like really crazy, I've heard. So I was like, I'm not doing it, because the whole time I'd be like, I'm a Virgo, so I'm like type A. But this did not notice any of that in the Audible. But I definitely still want to order the book now, because like from going from Audible, like I want to kind of see visually. Yeah. Because y'all took the visual and went on to, so now I'm gonna go backwards. But I enjoyed the writing, even listening to it.
Yeah. And if you blush in this book, she should read A Ruin of Roses.
Oh my god, I was blushing so bad. If some of my neighbors saw, like, or could hear what I was listening to, I was like, oh my god.
Oh, it's PG compared to another book series that I'll.
Can I be honest? I almost texted someone.
Okay, we'll get an in-depth discussion in the next episode. All right. So, kind of leading to Noel, when you were mentioning the reviews you read on Goodreads, I did read some reviews where people they were like, oh, the story's going nowhere, you don't know anything about the characters and this and that, which I thought was like, oh, maybe they didn't finish the book, so they may have put it down, right? And it's a building book, it's not as slow paced as like a Stephen King, but it builds because there's more than one book in the series. So this is book 1 of 5. So obviously you're not going to find out everything in the first book, right? It's just laying the groundwork. So with that being said, did the characters feel believable and well developed? And did you connect with any? You don't have to say specific names, but did you feel a connection to any characters in the book?
Yes, absolutely. And I personally felt the character build up for the main characters and then the main side characters. Yes. Then there's those like side characters that we really just hear their name once in a while, but that's okay, because it is, like you said, it's a war college. So there's a lot of cadets, so to speak, but the ones that we got to know that interact with the main character a lot, I felt I got to know them and then I liked their growth.
Yeah. The personalities, I feel like, show, especially towards, I would say 3/4 of the way through, you really were like, okay, that's this character. Okay, that's this one, Right.
And and I could get different personalities, like even when I'm reading the book, of like changing my own inner voice for certain characters that I felt like would sound certain ways, right? And kind of how they would talk. I felt that she did a really good job of the characters.
Yeah. I really feel like the audiobook, this book would be great as a graphic audio, just throwing that out there. I think it'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Agree.
So, what about you?
Yeah, I felt like I knew enough about each main character, so I kind of disagree with the bad reviews, like I felt like I learned a lot about the main character Violet and the other side characters, like their families and their personalities and their traits. Like, so I felt like I disagreed with that bad review, because I'm like, I felt like she went in enough. Now, like you guys said, with like the cadets, there was tons of them. I mean, no series, no movie, no book really needs to go into every single person where there's like 20 plus people.
Yeah.
You really need to know the nitty gritty, especially, I said especially since it's like the first book. Like,
Yeah.
you know, obviously I think as the books go on, she can go a little bit more into each person, more in depth. But yeah, it's the first book. So it's kind of like, give the lady a break. You only need to know what you need to know. Like, on the first one, in my opinion.
And it's following specific people. It's not following every person in the college. I mean, it's just like a book. If you were to read a book that centers on a woman who meets a man, like your focus is going to be primarily those two people, and then the side characters, you're going to start to learn a little bit about them, but they're not the focus. So I definitely felt the characters were believable. I like the main character Violet. You know, I like the fact that the author has her, you know, has a character that has like a chronic issue.
Yes.
You know? And so it kind of makes it believable in the sense that, okay, she's got this struggle. She's got a physical chronic issue, but, you know, her mentality, she's strong, you know, and I think that a lot of books are always lacking, especially fantasy romance, because it's always like the heroines are strong and there's nothing wrong with them. And then the guys, there's nothing wrong with them. And so I like how Rebecca put almost like real life, like nobody is perfect. And that, you know, you may see someone at the outside and they look perfect, but they could have a plethora of issues going on. And so I love the fact that the main character does have these issues and that she's working to overcome as the book progresses. And I think that's really more inspirational for young readers who are reading it, and they could be like, and I'm going to say young, I mean like teenagers, not like kids.
Right. And her Rebecca's son actually has the same disorder as Violet.
Oh, okay.
I found that out yesterday. And the story, you know, there's dragons on the cover, so I think everybody should know there's dragons. I won't say who the dragon is, but one dragon in particular is named after her dog that passed away. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. So I love that the fact that her son has, and you know, you'll learn the condition in the book that Violet has. Her son has that condition, so she's versed on what someone with that disability goes through. And then I just love that she named one of the dragons after her. I think it was an English bulldog, I want to say, that she had that's passed away now. I might be wrong on the breed of dog, but it was named after one of her dogs. And I thought that was the cutest thing. And there's a minor side character that's deaf and does sign language. So a lot of people reading the book actually loved that as well, that there was recognition for that as well in the story, which we don't see a lot of stories, especially fantasy, where there's someone with disabilities in the storylines.
Yeah, it's true. So I think it's safe to say we all love the book, but in the review, obviously we want to go in detail. Is there anything that you would have changed about the book? Pace, characters, you know, anything that you think that you hope is to be expanded on in future books, or that, you know, was fully developed, but you just were not a fan of?
No, for me, it gave me everything I wanted. It wasn't lacking anything for me personally. There's that little bit of spice in it. I would say if depending on who's reading the book, I would personally say someone who's maybe like 17 or older, I would say that's probably an age where I would say like it's an appropriate book for them. Because I know it's like that new adult kind of bracket they're putting it in. So, but I could see some people might think it's more YA. I wouldn't really consider it truly YA because some of the scenes, but I love those scenes. But it gave me everything I want in a series that's just started. Like, I'm here. I'm glad I got on the bandwagon early. I've seen people coming out with fan art. Do not look at the fan art until you've read the story. Personally, I would not look at any fan art, but there is fan art coming out. There's people coming out with stickers on Etsy. I am here for Fourth Wing. I'm a huge fan.
I'm like, I've made a bookmark.
See,
I've made fan art.
It's awesome. So. I don't think I would change much at all, except for the fact that, maybe a disclaimer on some of the, like, just a preview, disclaimer of like, yes, maybe not, because we relate it to a little bit of like Hunger Games Harry Potter sometimes. That's what it's been, reviewed as.
/ Game of Thrones.
But / Game of Thrones, I would teeter more towards the Game of Thrones.
The Game of Thrones is where some of those scenes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so like that's where I'm like, put a little like, disclaimer. But other than that, like I absolutely loved it. I wouldn't change the way she writes. I wouldn't change who, did the Audible, like none of that. But I did want to say back to relating to characters though. Sorry to bring this back, but I do relate to Violet. That's a whole long life story. But from somebody who grows up with like chronic issues, like I haven't seen that in many books. Like you both are right, where it's like, oh yeah, they're just invincible. But I'm like, no, like not everybody is invincible, but they can still be a hero. So
right.
Yeah, and if they are invincible in books, it's like they overcome it really fast, and everything's fixed and perfect. And I like the fact
we how many stories have we already read like that? Like this was cool. Ton. So and that she even pointed out and said, like, I'm in pain every day. Like every day is pain. And there are people who live through that every day for different reasons.
Oh yeah, whether it's physical, mental, pain. And so I like how through the book she's working through this, and it's not just magically fixed, like, oh, she goes to this work college, oh, she's all better, like, no, it's a lot of struggles, but it's good. So then I guess the last question that I would have for you guys, and I'm pretty sure this is glaringly obvious, but would you recommend the book?
100%. I've been recommending it to anybody that I know that reads. I'm recommending it to them. And there is even someone that I follow on Instagram that I don't know them personally, but I just follow their Bookstagram account. And she has the book. And I asked her, when are you going to read it? Because I always love reading her reviews in particular. And she's like, oh, I think I'll read it closer to November when the second book's out so I can read the whole story at once. And I think a lot of people initially thought it was a duology. So I reached back out to her and I was like, well, girl, the author is saying it's right now slated for 5 books. And I don't think you should not wait on this book. So she started reading it and she immediately was like, oh my gosh, like this book is amazing. I love it when I recommend a book and people love it. And everyone I've referred this book to loves it. I personally haven't met anyone that disliked the book.
Well, that was like me. I was going to wait until right before the second book came because I thought it was a duology. And I was like, you know what? We'll just read, both and then, discuss it on the podcast here. And then when I heard that there was going to be more, I'm like, I'm reading it now. Like, I'm not waiting. That is, hearing that it's sold out everywhere. You can't get this book unless you're getting the or ebook.
This edition, this is when I saw the link I got mine on Amazon, that it was a first edition. And everyone that got the advanced reader copies was like screaming mad reviews about it. So as soon as I saw this on Amazon, I was like, well, heck yeah, I'm going to get the first edition. And now the editions that they're making now, they don't have these sprayed dragons on the end. So I feel like even though it's not like a signed copy or anything, which I want the next one to be a signed copy personally, but like I'm so happy I got the sprayed edges.
I bought
People are selling them on eBay for like $70. Like that's horrible, but this was like $18 on Amazon when I got it. I was so happy.
I remember you sent me the link and you're like, oh, this is a new book coming out. You should buy it. And I just bought it. I didn't even read what it was about.
No, because I do not recommend. Yes, I know the books that you like. Obviously, I'm your sister. So I was like, yes, like you have to read this book.
Well, that's why I just bought it. And you're like, oh, do you even know what it's about? No, I just bought it.
Sometimes, no.
Well, that's like when you and I, we went to Barnes & Noble right after, like around the holidays, and they had that day where all hardbacks were 50% off.
50% off. We were grabbing a ton of books we never heard of.
We were just walking through and buying hardbacks based on the cover, and we would, that looks cool, and then we'd read it, and we're like, oh, that sounds cool, so we'd buy it. And because they were selling out. Hardcovers were just selling out. So we were just, we were basing the books on the cover at that point, because it was like, quick, gotta grab stuff before other people grab it. And I think we each left like 12 books. It was really intense, but this was definitely a good book. I know I recommended it to Lauren, got her to listen to it. Sean, my husband, is now he's listening to the audiobook now. He's 3 pages in, you guys. Woo, progress.
I feel like it's like there are people out there who I know that are like, I don't like to read, it's not my thing, blah blah. try Audible of this. Like,
Yeah.
give
Well,
it a try, honestly.
I highly recommend, if Rebecca ever listens to this, which I doubt she will, but if she does, graphic audio, get that company to do it, because that is absolutely amazing. Do you know what graphic audio is?
You've educated me on this once, but now I forget.
Okay, so it's a company, and what they do is they do audiobooks, but they literally have an actor for each character, and they do all the background noise and everything, so it sounds like a movie.
I like this.
You literally, so it's instead of one person reading and doing all the voices, you literally have a dedicated actor for each thing, and it is amazing. I love graphic audio and the work that they do. They are obviously more expensive, but they're definitely worth it, especially if you are the type of person who travels a lot or who likes to listen to books while working out or cleaning the house or doing whatever. Graphic audio is amazing. So wonderful company, and I hope they do that with this book, because I own the ebook, the physical book, the audiobook, and I will buy the graphic audio if they come out.
I know. I just got my Kindle Paperweight, and I'll probably end up, because I do want to. Is that what it's called?
No, it's Paperweight.
Paperweight. I'm thinking of the weights like from Game of Thrones. But I want to reread it before November, even if it's just a quick skim. So I might do the Kindle version the next time, because
And let's be honest, it's not a quick skim. It is a 500-page book, you guys. So it is a good lengthy book. Even reading it, if you only read about an hour or two a day, it's going to take you about a week. But if you have a full day, you can at least get half, if not 3/4 of the way through. I would say it's almost like a 2-page or 2-day book if you read all day, and take breaks, obviously, to eat and do some other things. But
yeah, people have, I've seen videos where they said they read it all in one sitting. I don't know, like, that's a lot of sitting to read through it. So I also like to, I don't like to rush a book that I'm really loving too, because I want it to all like sink in and enjoy it. So I took my time reading it, and it probably took me 3 to 4 days for this, because I wanted to let it sink in. Because I feel like sometimes the faster I do get through a story, the faster I miss those little tiny things. So I don't consider myself a super fast reader. Medium paced, I would say.
It took me about a week to read it, and then I've been listening to the audiobook too. So
yeah.
And it's taken you about a week and a half to the audiobook?
Yeah,
she lives a very busy life.
Yeah, I was like, shoot, I would be trying, and then I'd be like, oh, gotta do this. Oh, gotta do that. So that's why I was grateful for the audio, but also I'm the same way where it's like, I want to take my time process it a little bit too. Yeah. So there was times where I'd be like listening to it, and then I'd do the 30 seconds back. I was like, wait, what did I just hear?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that also is what took me a little bit of a delay there, because I was like, oh shit, can I cuss on this? Okay. Oh shit. So because I'd be like, I gotta listen to that again. I gotta hear that person's name or this thing, just because I wanted to resonate in my brain, keep it, rehear it. But yeah, so I thought it was great. I recommend it. I've actually already texted it to a couple of people. So it's like she went from recommending it to me.
Yeah.
To like me being like even only halfway through. And I was like texting it to other people. It was like, listen, read this book. And I even hit up a friend who's in the industry, the film industry, and was like, keep a lookout for this.
Yeah. If they make it into a movie or TV series.
Yeah. Oh, like, and if the second book is even remotely as good as this first one, a network's gonna definitely pick it up, you guys.
Well, they would be stupid not to.
Yeah. Let's be honest. The demand is here.
I just hope it's not Netflix, because Netflix likes to cancel everything. So let's please get HBO up in this mix.
Yeah.
Or a movie deal, because I'm tired of Netflix canceling my favorite shows. But anyways, so we're gonna wrap this up. So you guys, please join us for our next episode, where we are going to be talking in detail about the book. Full spoilers. We're not holding anything back. So if you have not read the book, do not listen or watch that episode, because there will be spoilers, and it's on you if you watch and listen without reading the book. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode, which we'll be recording here very shortly. Have a great day. Bye.